How about now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Let me see. Let's wait for the delay. Let's see. Let's see. How about now? Everyone's looking.
Oh, I got some audio now on my other devices.
All right, there you go. There you go. Why can't I hear anybody else?
I think you forgot to hit the on switch.
No.
You know, for your home D there. Get it going.
Yeah, there we go. Technology is hard. There we go. Everyone hear me? Yeah. There's 5x5. All right. Well, there was an update that just happened. Is what it was. And so, right before we logged on, there was an update through all this shit. Wow, I'm kind of embarrassed now. Holy shit! You don't see me turning red and stuff, man. You guys can see me through here. Can y'all hear me now? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Thank you guys. I appreciate you assisting in this now. It's there's this new update that came out, security update. Make sure you podcasters out there are listening in there. Don't worry about the first 15 minutes. You don't have to worry about it. But if you're broadcasting using the broadcasting software, there's an update that just came out, and if you're not careful with it, it'll change your stuff. And I didn't realize it until it went back up. So there you go. There you guys can hear me again. Everything is going 5x5. Let me see. There you go. Everyone can hear me. There you go. Oh, I appreciate you guys assisting me on this. Did this even cut out? Did the music even play or something like that, or
Stop using Internet Explorer.
Stop using Internet Explorer. Exactly that. Let me see. Yeah, let me see. Let me look right here. Let me just double check.
They do have some major updates going to be coming down from all the major companies later.
Stop using Internet Explorer. Exactly that.
They do have some major updates coming down from all the major companies later.
Stop using Internet Explorer. Oh, hang on. Phew, man. There we go. You can really hear me now. Woo, I'm all over the place. I did not leave myself on mute. If I could, sometimes I wish I could record myself when I'm doing this stuff, but don't worry. I think everybody else heard me. We'll see how this shit saves, but yeah, make sure you double check your stuff. There we go. So I'm back up. Hang on. We'll see how this shit saves. Yeah, here we go. We're back up. We're back up. Oh man. Oh, dead air after the movie intro, bro. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, there you go. Man, there we go. Well, thanks again. So, what was I saying? Oh,
it was a visual presentation, not an audio.
It was an audio presentation. But there you go. Thank you. I am so embarrassed. God, I feel so bad. I feel. Damn, Shipwreck. Why didn't you tell me what's going on, dude?
I was hearing you good, man.
Well, yeah, you were hearing me good, but the audience wasn't hearing me good. That sucks. But at any rate. What were we going to say? Oh, yeah. So, welcome to WTF Nation Radio, Sergeant's Time. Man. Okay, so, today we're going to have our guest, Colonel Jonathan Chung from the 2nd Brigade Combat Team Strike. Lancer 6 is going to come on to shoot the shit about his organization and his new podcast, The Leadership Experience. Hey, you guys, make sure you guys update your streaming software. Holy crap. That was insane. So we're going to shoot the breeze with him. He's going to come on at 2100 Eastern Standard Time or 9 p.m. for those of you who don't know. Thank you guys again for the live sound check. I totally appreciate that. I feel kind of bad that I'll let you guys kind of, out there in the open with that. God, I feel bad. Just leaving you hanging. Just sitting there wondering around what's going on. I know. I'm sorry, Liz. I'm such a monster.
It's like those death by PowerPoint with no audio. Make your own sound effects to the images.
Exactly. I almost feel like playing the womp 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 womp, the bad music and shit, the womp womp music. But God, it threw my roll off, dude. You know what I mean? Let's see. Is 2nd Brigade already? Yeah, 2nd Striker Brigade is already busting out. Did you guys at least like the intro? Come on. That was a pretty cool intro. That the Legions. They had a produced video from Duke University, and I just I just introduced my Sergeant's Time video to that, and I just linked it together and threw a couple of graphics on there, and there you go. I thought it was pretty cool. But anyways,
yeah, you did a good job.
I didn't do anything. They did it. All I did was just throw a couple of extra graphics and stuff on there. I didn't do shit to it. But
oh, that was them. Dang.
That was them, dude. That was all Hollywood, bro. Yeah, that was the Lancer Brigade's moto of it. That made me want to go hang out and be with the Lancers. I don't know what the proper name is to that. What is the negative impact of having a beard in garrison? We'll see that in a minute. Oh, just push it till I'm tired. Jim, I honestly deserve that, bro. I totally do. At any rate. So today's news, if you guys not heard already, there's already the new, I guess the ACFT came out with some other stuff. I mean, there's some, okay, the ACFT, this stuff is on version 2 point whatever. And I'm thinking that this just broke today. And Haley Britsky from Task and Purpose broke the story, and it's basically 3 years after unveiling the new fitness test as gender neutral. Now the Army is considering a change to the ACFT that would score school soldiers on a service-wide percentile separated by gender. That's what Task and Purpose has learned. Looking at the slides that we had, I'm not going to throw no slides up, but quote, we had this big thing of inclusion, but this is one of the biggest eyesores that goes against inclusion. An Army official said, under the condition of anonymity for fear of retribution. I don't think the Army, retribute somebody for something like that. I mean, just keeping it out there just for information. They didn't think about, and this is not, mind you, this is somebody who was commenting on it. It was mostly men that ran it, and mostly men who are going to take it. It's mostly men who are going to just refusing to take the L. God, man, that's kind of a harsh take on that. So
they're saying that the women in the Army can't do it.
No,
they're not fit enough.
Well, it's just the briefing slides obtained said that it was a pre-decisional concept, and the Army's it was from the Army's Training and Doctrine Command for senior leaders to show changes under the consideration for the ACFT. Army officials already said the test, which consists of 6 events, including the 2-mile run, max deadlift, hand release push-ups, and leg tuck, is crucial to soldier development. And through the lawmakers and advocacy groups have criticized as it potentially harmful to soldiers' careers and not properly designed. So there are some slides that are out. Again, I'm not going to throw slides up, but there is a description of the ACFT 3.0 that suggested permanently adding the option for soldiers to do a 2-minute plank instead of a leg tuck, and the option was made temporarily available to soldiers last summer, removing the MOS specific requirements and eliminating competition between genders of scoring men and women and percentiles of their gender. So right now, currently, there's nothing that's been laid out specifically. Summary of the Army did say we don't care if there is a 21.4 ACFT edition. He said we're gonna keep going until it gets done right, if that makes any sense. We'll just have to see about that. But what's that? What were you gonna say?
I thought that test was pretty good, but when I read that article, though, there were some good points, though, that there needs some adjustments due to medical lifestyle needs to bring in a bearing child and all of that to life.
Bring a child to life? You mean postpartum PT?
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Postpartum PT. Yeah, it's one of those weeks, man. This cold weather got me all jacked up a little bit, and life in general. But yeah, I was reading that it's not good for them on certain aspects. That needs to be adjusted for them. Not like it's a bad thing or anything,
right,
for them, but there are medical needs that need to be considered to make a PT test validated for them on their level. But what I didn't like about the article is they were saying that certain jobs are not as fit as other jobs because they sit behind a desk or they're chaplains or secretaries, and they made it sound like that they shouldn't have the same standard of PT
bro.
as,
well, thank you so much.
Infantry or something. That's how I took it. But
okay.
Did you see that part of the article?
Well, I mean,
like
I'll be honest with you. Oh shit! God, you guys, thank you for the correction. Thank you so much. God, I am 8 up today. I'm really freaking 8 up today. I'm really.
See, it's not just me.
It's just no. I'm just 8 up. Hang on. Someone just sent me a message. I appreciate you guys and gals for the message. It's just been It's just been one of those. It's been one of those days. It has been one of those days. It has been one of those days. Hang on.
I'm just blame it on 2021.
You're gonna blame it on? No, I'm just gonna play. Sometimes it's better just to not. Yeah. I'm just gonna take the L on this one. Thank you guys. And that's one thing about having a fan base like you guys on WTF Nation. You guys are able to assist me when you see something that's messed up, and I'll own it too. It's like, hey, if I'm messed up on something, I'll own it. I totally fucking appreciate it. Hang on, I'll do this again. Apparently, the incorrect unit was tagged on here, and I just grabbed the tag. So I'm going to.
Oh yeah, that's. I'm gonna leave that one alone there.
Yeah, what's up with that, dude? Why'd you sit there and make me look like that? See, so you just sitting there, just let me walk my. You're the type of person. Are you the type of person that freaking will let me have a booger hanging out my nose, and then just like not freaking tell me and walk around the hole? Are you that type of person? You'll sit there. I got something hanging out.
Seeing you're gonna walk through the claymore there, and
everyone's ragging on me right now, going, you're tagging the wrong unit. You better make sure that this is the right unit. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is. Oh, never mind. See, that's what it is, dude. You purposely just let me walk in there. You just let me walk in and just. See, Colonel Chung's probably listening right now, and he's probably listening.
Hey, fans gotta enjoy, a good laugh here and there, They gotta know you're human and not a robot. So.
Yeah, it's true. I am not a robot. But yeah, hang on.
Not a
yeah. Let me adjust that tag for you guys. God, thank you guys so much for letting me know. I totally appreciate it. I think I just. Yeah, exactly. It was so the 101st is probably wondering what's going on. Why are we tagged? It's fixed. We fixed it, audience. We appreciate your assistance. I'm gonna kill my social media team. But anyways, let's go back to what we were saying. So here's the thing. So some suggestions were found in the slides that were posted on Reddit that additional slides obtained through Task and Purpose said this included some of the Army's thinking behind the changes, specifically that the Army's acknowledgement of congressional hurdles over the test implementation. Congress ordered the Army to stop administering the ACFT until an independent study can be conducted on its impact on soldiers in the 2020 NDAA, which was the National Defense Authorization Act. So, again, one of the slides said that we know that there's a physiological difference between men and women, and the Army has to take account for this to remove the competition between genders, or Congress will never allow the ACFT implementation. Now, the goal of the ACFT is to reward the most physically fit. This accomplishes that, accounting for biological differences. Now, there was somebody that spoke a little bit about it, but didn't really talk about it. You kind of like messed around with it. It was pretty much a Lieutenant Colonel Gabe Ramirez, an Army spokesman. This declined to answer the specific questions about the documents, but he said that they were pre-decisional. At this point, it's unclear if the changes suggested in the slide have been accepted, declined, or are still under review. Quote, "We are currently in the assessment phase as we collect ACFT scores from across the Army. We are taking a deliberate approach to it. Gather the information from the force and conduct an independent review in accordance with the NDAA so we can revise the ACFT to ensure it's fair for all soldiers and an accurate predictor for fitness required for combat." So this, of course, have not been a smooth transition because we had COVID come up. And, and COVID has totally jacked it up, and it's not been easy because of the mitigation factors, the APFT transfer, going over and turning into the ACFT. It's been a hard transition on that stuff. So the only thing is that early on September 2019, preliminary scores were made public of this 11. I guess there were the test battalions that showed that there was a performance divide between men and women, sparking criticism from soldiers and advocacy groups. Major General Lonnie Hibbard, the commander for the CIMT, the Center for Initial Military Training, said in November of 2019 that the Army would more likely make adjustments to the test over the next 3 to 5 years before it was right. He emphasized the success was depending on learning how to train for the test. The request
so they're going to go back to the old test? in the meantime?
Oh, no. It's still going because it's now the ACFTs has become the test of record as of 1 October 2020. So then, of course, the changes. If you guys have not followed Morgan on Twitter and seen all the X-Words and X-Orders and Fragos that we have put out on U.S. Army WTF moments on the main page, you'll know that we had, we put that information out, and there's been changes to the ACFT or APFT implementation, and there's been a bunch of crazy stuff that has happened when you are taking an APFT, the Army Body Fat Composition Program, a lot of fragos that came out of it. So, and then in October, the two senators publicly criticized the test implementation as premature. Do you think it was premature? Do you think we needed to train up for it? Do we need to, not have had any of the? I don't think there was enough. I'll be honest with you, it was like a culture thing. That's the way I see it.
I thought it was set up pretty well test to start with. I wish they gave the units a little bit more time to get their equipment for it.
That's what I'm saying. It was more of the
logistics side of that.
Yeah, logistics side of the house, and also testing the APFT to begin with. There was a lot of things involved that that could have, just some units couldn't do it. Some units were in training cycles. Well, no, it's just some units were in training processes. They were doing field exercises. So nobody considered the guard of the reserve. There was a couple of Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and Richard Blumenthal had actually sent a letter to the heads of the House and Senate Arms Committees, said that the ACFT is a work in progress, but they have considerable concerns, was regarding the impact to be having on so many careers. They also kind of criticized the Army for pouring money and resources into administering it and preparing it instead of questioning the validity. Oh God, I can't talk today. Validity of the test. Dude, I can't talk at all today. I'm all over the map. Dude, that thing just messed my flow up. That whole freaking beginning. I should just restart the show. I should just redo the show.
Right, let's just restart the show. And pull up the AI version, and we'll be
pull up the AI.
Back to normal.
Yeah, exactly. So the APFT, they were just talking about the amount of cost that it took to do it. So the APFT only required a $3 stopwatch. The ACFT requires $3,000 worth of equipment to put one individual through the test.
Well, once that 3,000 spent, you can put thousands through it.
Well, no, what you talked about earlier is the preparation and logistics.
Yeah.
So they also. Right. So they also talked about the new scoring system. So the new scoring system detailed in the slides would put soldiers in percentiles tiered by color instead of points they received. So platinum, gold, silver, bronze, and green. All soldiers will have to take the same test events, but their scores will be ranked within their gender instead of putting men and women in the same category. So the score associated with percentile will be determined based on the Army performance by gender. I don't even want to know what these slides look like. If they're talking about percentiles and they're talking about gold, green, platinum, green, bronze, that already right there, you can already see there's going to be a condition to have everybody, all you do is the green standard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're already...
You're always going to have them.
Right. The promotion points would be assigned basically what color tier they fall into. 100% for platinum, 90% for gold, 80% for silver. The colors are not numerical points, would be used in awards and evaluations. So that's kind of like one of those, you're kind of falling into a trap. I think you're falling into a trap.
Big time. But why do they use the PT as a practice to promote people, though? You don't have to be physically fit to be a good leader.
Well, why not?
But you need to be physically fit to do the job.
Right. Yeah, I say gender because I'm reading the article to which that's what Task and Purpose wrote out. That's what I'm going off of this article right here. As for the leg tuck, everyone talking about the leg tuck, the suggested changes to that soldiers would declare at the beginning of the test that they plan on doing the plank for the leg tuck, which I guess is taken from the Marines playbook. There's a positive change that one of the Army should make permanent, according to Manning, a female officer who had the change that could alleviate concerns for a lot of women, specifically those ones with postpartum, like you said, shipwreck earlier, who had C-sections. Though the plank can come with its own challenges, specifically. Have you ever done a plank, dude? Have you ever sat there and done a plank, like yourself? Have you tried a plank? How long can you do a plank for?
I think last time I did it, it's been a while. We used to do it watching TV, 10, 20 minutes here and there.
But you can do a plank for 20 minutes, like
Yeah,
sitting by itself. You can hold a plank for 20 freaking minutes.
yeah, you can.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
I gotta see this shit. We're gonna have to videotape you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
we
have
do
to.
exercises while we're watching TV and shit, or we'll sit there and play for a while like it's a cartoon on.
I don't know, man.
I got 2 boys in the house, so we make challenges.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Whatever.
My youngest could do diamond push-ups. Like,
oh yeah, my
it littles me on the push-ups.
yeah, my little guy's got abs. He always likes to show off. He's like, look at my abs. I'm like, shut up, get out of here. He's like, I got abs, and he's only 5. So exactly. So another common concern is the test is inaccessible. Officer said that soldiers shouldn't feel supported by this because most of us can't even access the equipment to train on, and that's right. Think about it. How many? Real quick, let me look around here. How many sergeant majors have told you to get out of the gym? How many?
Oh, with COVID going on?
No, they don't tell you. They tell you to get out of the passing out during the plank clothes. That's right. Does it count? But how many sergeant majors have told you not to go to not they don't go to the gym, right? You can't go to the gym. The gym culture is what the old salts need to get out of. You know what I mean? I don't think that they I don't think that they should have I don't know, that whole mentality. It's like usually the ones that don't like you to go to the gym are the ones that can't lift. Exactly, David. They're the ones that are screaming, "Get off my grass! Get off my rocks! Go pick up cigarette butts. Go. What was it? Go race some lions in the on the tank trail. Do armless planks for 5-6 hours each night of sleep. Exactly. Same here, cause. Exactly that.
Some people complained, started lifting that weight, they started having medical issues.
Well, as far as what?
I thought I read in that article that some people started lifting the 300 pounds and it started giving them back issues or something. Not they weren't conditioned to it because of their job or something like that.
Well, not really. I mean, there's not really too many MOSs that. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's important to be. I mean, you got to think about it right now. It's important. You notice that video that I played at the beginning of the show before I went, completely and blanked.
Yeah, tip of the spear stuff.
Tip of the spear stuff, right? So you notice that they were all doing PT. You notice there's a lot of tasks that are required in even the medics that you saw. There was even female medics, doing the, doing some of their tasks. It requires you to have strength. It requires you to do PT. You can't sit there and say that you can't, you could do all this stuff without a specific, because in the end, to soldier on, I guess, you should be able to do at least some soldier-like tasks to do soldier-like things. If you're a medic or, I don't understand how it's everyone gets wrapped around the axle, how they're saying it's going to put me out of a job. What were you doing before this? Weren't you doing PT before?
Everyone's a rifleman.
Well, I'm just saying, but what everyone's not going to be, because you got individuals out there that can run like crazy. And this whole metric in the Army, I don't like. That's one thing I don't like about the Army when I was in, was the fact that we focus too much on running, but we don't focus anything on strength. So you notice the guys and gals that they can run. If they can run, 12. They can run their 2 miles in 10 minutes. But as soon as you put a ruck on them, or as soon as you have them do normal soldier tasks within their MOS, they can't do it. They don't have the strength.
Right. But how do you test for endurance?
Right.
If you have the strength, you got to test for endurance.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't have one or the other. You got to have both.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It just you have to, you kind of have to balance it out. Oh, he runs fast. That makes it a great leader. Isn't that when we have memes on anyways? We have a lot of memes that talk about that as it is. Yep. He's going to be on in about 30 minutes, 25 minutes. So.
They're here for them, not you.
Yeah. 20 minutes, exactly. Say we don't have an equal balance, and whatever specific MOSs that you have, I don't know, man. You've seen those guys, slugging them artillery shells, those 13 series MOSs that are just humping those rounds.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you also have infantrymen that need to carry. You saw in that video, you saw the guy carrying the Bangalore torpedoes and stuff, and doing normal soldier tasks. Yeah, that's a good point, Lonnie. It is a good point. There's soldiers that are sitting around getting promotion points, doing nothing.
But they're good at PowerPoint. And hot pockets in their blouses.
or what is it? Or freaking Pop-Tarts. Yeah, was it the Trade Hawk CG talked about the Pop-Tarts?
You gotta admit, that was a good video.
That was a good video. What he was talking about. That was a legit video. If you guys don't know General Martin, the Deputy Commanding General Trade Hawk, so that was a funny video. But no, there are some individuals that can hold a 2x4. I can hold. We're not talking about a plank there, Bob. A piece of wood. But yeah, it's a hard balance because there are individuals out there that, again, like the comments are saying, dude. Look at the comments; they're saying the same thing. You could be a bookworm and all that stuff. That's not going to get you promoted. That's what I'm saying. It's just like you're not leading from an office. You shouldn't be leading from an office anyways. The NCOIC stuff, the sergeants. You're a sergeant leading troops. You need to be physically fit to lead those troops. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying that you have to be fit to fight and yada yada. You can't be offended for doing something that requires you to be a soldier task. Hell, just go into the range. If you're sucking and you're winded, just putting on body armor and a helmet just to go to the range, maybe you need to do some more PT. I'm serious. There are guys out there that are, no, I'm serious. There's guys and gals that are like, had a hard day. Oh, really? What'd you do? Just went to the range. What? Did you do like some stress shooting or something like that? Did you do any?
Are those the ones that never deploy you're talking about?
No, we have a lot. Lately, okay, I'm gonna say something right now. Lately in the inbox, we've had a lot of people complain about Army stuff, like literally the Army stuff. There is literal Army stuff that has to be done. That they made me carry water cans. Okay, well, and I had to lift them up into the back of a truck. Okay, what else? I want you guys to blast my chain of command. Okay, why? Because they told me to put the you know what I mean. There's still war fighting functions that we have to conduct. There's still things you have to do as a soldier yourself. You really cannot expect to be in the military, especially the U.S. Army or any. I'm just going to talk about the U.S. Army right now. You really cannot expect to be in the U.S. Army and have specific tasks that require you to do field craft, and you have to you have to do PT to maintain it. If you were like sucking down freaking, I shouldn't say monsters and stuff like that, because sometimes that's what we need in the field. But you can't sit there and complain about how you can't do anything, or you're not physically fit, or I'm too tired, or whatever, and then complain about, oh well, I don't know why my NCO is doing this. But literally this week we have individuals that have been in the inbox complaining about just doing basic soldier stuff. And that's an uptick. Is there an exercise going on? Is there a warfighter going on? Do we have some do we have JRTC something do we have, I know the 80 seconds in JRTC, and we have NTC stuff happening. Do we have a warfighter going on too? And God,
we got something in Alaska going on.
Yeah, we got some complaining, dude. It's just like, God, I had to carry tow batteries. Damn it! Yeah, uphill both ways in the motor pool in the snow. That's right. Oh man,
they wanted the jet skis.
Yeah. In the snow. Oh my God, it's insane. But at any rate, there shouldn't be a complaint about that. That's why I never understood wanting to do PT or doing the ACFT. It should be something that you should be conditioned for already, but you can already tell just on one of the comments say, just by the way the Army is already not in shape, that's why people are kind of freaking out. It's because you're having to do these exercises They weren't conditioned for. So the Army put the test, they put the cart before the horse when it came to the implementation of the ACFT. What they should have done is they should have changed the standard. They should have told Big Sarge to shut up. We don't do the overhead clamp anymore, the bend and reach. Okay, stop it. That's we're still hearing about that exercise that went out like in the 90s, dude. That's like still, I don't know why people start talking about that.
Bend, reach, and call.
We didn't bend and reach. We didn't change our culture to change to the test. If that makes that's what I'm saying.
There should have been a grace period to get people in tune for that.
Well, we should. Well, no, we should. Well, no, but not really a grace period. But we told people that a test was coming. We told the individual soldiers and the force that, hey, this is what we need to be doing. The force should have been training that stuff within basic training, which a lot of that stuff has been happening anyways. We had Master Sergeant Kelly Horner come on, and she talked about the ACFT, and she discussed it, and she talked about how it's being implemented. So there's a lot of things like that are happening that were, that were right. But immediately when it came to the testing of it, we got to test now. You didn't even tell people that what the exercises are. We didn't even tell people what it was, and I would have thought that before you said yep. And then of course the Rona hit. That didn't help either. The long sit. Yeah, exactly. The long sit. I remember the wow cause. You broke out some old stuff. Old stuff. I have not
I
heard
did that in elementary school.
The long sit. The long sit.
With the ruler.
I've not heard. I've not heard the whole thing. Now that's something I've not heard in a long time. The long sit. The single leg over is the best. Who decided what MOS would fall into each class? Yeah, who? But who? Right? Lonnie's got a good point. Joshua says PT has nothing to do with being a leader, but in the Army, an organization is better to fight. You win our nation's wars, you better be fit. Your life depends on it. Could go on. Mental health is better, less suicide, more productivity. If you don't PT every day in the Army, you're part of the problem. Should there be a PT program that should last at least daily? Should it be longer? I didn't have any units that had any issues until you had individuals that were I thought it was normal. PT test exactly. Well, that's a good one, Elliot. PT test should be a go no go. Pass. That's it. You pass all
that
events.
would take a lot of factors out for promotions.
Well,
to make it a lot easier, and more equal to everyone if it's a pass and go for sure.
How would it be for promotion though? How would you calculate that for promotion? If that makes any sense.
You pass PT, you're qualified for promotion. If you fail PT, you're not qualified for promotion. Who cares if you scored a 80 or 100?
So it's just like
you can still be an effective leader.
It's like med school. If you're the lowest, what do they call a doctor who graduated at the lowest, the lowest of his class or her class? Doctor, right? Same thing with a lawyer. What do you call? Every soldier should be qualified. That's a problem. People complain about getting qualified. You can't do that stuff anymore. Now, this is my squad stuff. You can't do any of that stuff anymore. But yeah, that's a good one too, Casey. Perfect, Casey. What's wrong with having the tape test? Skip the tape test and the soldier passes the PT test. Right? Exactly. See, that's where I would change that up. If you can max the APFT or the ACFT, then you don't have to worry about doing a height and weight. We don't have to do height and weight, right? Just like, hey, there you go.
Everyone's a different body mass.
Right. Well, no, I mean it's kind of
different. Be fit and be 300 pounds.
Well, I don't know. It's just it's the way I see it. If you're able to pass, and I mean the ACFT, if you're not trained for it, if you're not doing PT, it's gonna make you suck. So you're gonna be sucking. But if you do really good on it and you're squared away, that obviously it's a test to see where you stand on your physical fitness. And that means you've been doing PT on your own. More than likely, you're probably not going to be big and obese. Obviously, you're not going to do that. I don't know. There been any studies of obese people passing a PT test? I don't know. But if you max a PT test or max the ACFT, so I mean, whatever. Exactly that, Joe. I've seen it too. Big dudes pass PT tests and kill it. And could run. And could ruck and could do all their jobs, but the next thing you know, man, Here we go.
I bet they look like Sherman tanks when they're running them.
They look like that big rhino on Jumanji. You know that rhino that's like the last of the animals, the stampede, going, I could do this, Lord.
Do not get in their way because they don't stop easy.
Exactly. Let me slow down. It takes me almost a block to slow down when I finish my run. But my point being is that should be another one too. I mean, the audience is saying the same thing. But I don't understand how the whole ACFT, the way things are, how it rolled out. It's just, and like I said, COVID didn't do anything at all. COVID didn't help it at all because now you're not even supposed to be taking the ACFT anyways until 2022, right? March of 2022 is when you're not supposed to be able to take the ACFT anymore, unless you have failed the APFT and need to retake the APFT to pass it. And then now the test's a record, yada, yada, yada. After that, you take a test to lift the flag. But there's still units out there that are still making individuals do ACFTs.
Wow. That's messed up.
Right.
That's really messed up.
Yeah, Ellie, we're talking about here, everyone's getting taped. That's right. Everyone gets taped. The women soldiers are the ones that get it the worst, though. I mean, they're just the tape. It's not approximate. You can't get a good measurement because I know there's some women soldiers out there that kill on PT and then they fail tape, just like the guys, and they fail tape and that's it. They're getting flagged.
That is messed up.
No, it is.
Straight up.
Yeah, it is. I said everybody wants everybody to get the same body design for that. Yep. If you're a gym rat, you're likely to fail. You know, I do know some gym rats though that can't run. There are some individuals that are really heavy in the gym that they don't do good. They don't do good on the run. There's like they're not really I don't know. It's hard to say. Just the normal private, the average Joe should be able to do that if they're trained correctly. But then again, how long is a good PT session? How long is a good PT test?
Everyone's different.
It takes for a good PT session. Oh, someone said blah 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 blah. You're an SLC at Gordon and the Joes and the class took an APFT prior to coming there? See, what kind of crap is that?
How do they get away with that crap?
That's what I'm saying.
How you know there's that one private that's gonna call them out or rat them out to someone somewhere. How do they get away with it?
I don't know. I said I don't know. That's straight BS, man. That is straight BS. Should not be taking an APFT. I don't even know why they have it on an NCO PD test anyways. If you're not supposed to be taking a PT test to begin with, why are we taking PT tests at all the NCO PDSs? MLC, BLC, ALC, SLC. It kind of doesn't make sense. On that note. So, yeah.
That just irritates me.
No, it does. It makes you... It just... Again, you're not supposed to be taking the ACFT, but we still get pictures in the inbox of individuals because COVID didn't want to stop. You got to have them slides updated. I guess there are some issues with DTMS getting the stats updated and all that. But we get it in the inbox all the time. Did we just send it to the PAOs? Hey, you guys are doing APFTs again? No, we're not. And then here's pictures. We send them pics.
That's their dick pics.
Well, yeah, we send them ACFT pics. Yeah, exactly. We send them unsolicited ACFT pics, and we're like, hey, here's the ACFT that you're not supposed to be doing. And by the way, you got some individuals that are COVID, that need to have their shit tested.
So they're more important about testing than keeping a soldier healthy and safe. Okay.
Well, I mean, Joshua says it's a quality check. If there's a quality check then and they're sending to school and they're not going to do it, see, that's what's messed up. The school needs to get in line with the force to find out exactly what they're testing. If you're going to be going to a school that you're told already there's not going to be an ACFT, I'm not saying and I'm agreeing with you guys and gals in the audience. You should be ready to take an ACFT at any time. It should not be an issue, or hell, any physical fitness, to whatever we decide to take, you should be ready to take it anyways. It should not be a shock that when you are attending professional military education that you're not going to be taking an APFT. You're not going to be taking an ACFT. It should not be a big surprise that you have to do physical stuff. There are requirements that you have to do within the course that require you to do exactly that, VTT. I was about ready to say. You need to put out proper guidance. That's all it is. Hey, we're not grading anybody for ACT, but there have events that we are going to do that require you to be in shape, and you can't come here without a profile. That should be it. That should be it.
Exactly.
That should be it. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to have anybody participating in an event at the school that requires some physical fitness, that, you know, agility, I guess you'd say. And then the next thing you know, they can't even ruck or they can't even participate. And they're like, ugh, ugh, ugh. Oh, shit. He's dropping the back at Brad comment. That's just bringing the drop, you know. Why do you want to do that, Heath? Why are you dragging this? Why are you dragging this out like that? But anyways, so we're gonna take a break right quick. Hopefully, I mean, we will make sure sound and everything's good to go, so that when Colonel Chung comes on board, we'll be good to go. We fixed all the tags and all that, so now everyone's rocking and rolling, and we should be good to go in a minute. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and take a break right quick, and we'll be right back. Shots.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
Take it from me, Ice. You can't just float around space not caring about stuff forever.
The voice of U.S. Army. WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Shit in the bag, Pogue.
Sirens are going off. Another rocket attack. I've got my boots and got my ammo in my 50-pound sack. A 100 boys headed to war in this world unknown. The only peace of mind I've got are these letters from home. Another day has come and gone. Another night attack. I've tried to talk and tell you about it, but it ain't the same. All these thoughts that run through my head, well, they can't be tamed. Another day has come and gone. Another night I'm all alone. I didn't think I'd be this far out here.
if that's really a thing, and I get authorized to do it once, it's pretty much gonna be me sitting there talking shit, like, constantly.
I am here determined to stop this future atrocity.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
And we're back with part 2 of Sergeant's Time with our guest, Commander of the Lancer Brigade, Colonel Jonathan Tung. What's going on, sir?
Hey, Ken, I really appreciate you having me on.
Oh, man. Colonel Chung, I was about, we were talking earlier, I didn't even know your unit existed. Can you tell us about, could you go ahead, first off, just go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So, you know, I've been in command here up at 2-2 Striker, you know, the Lancer Brigade. I'm going on my second year, so I'll change out somewhere between the April and June timeframe, and it's been an incredible experience. I mean, anybody that gets a chance to come to JBLM and really get a chance to step inside this brigade, I mean, you're going to see some and have an experience that you never have had in the past. So for me, myself, I think one of the things that's been truly awesome, we'll get a chance to share later on in the show, is just being an opportunity to sit on this piece of terrain and really watch how things have kind of developed since I've come, in the time frame of April 19 and how it's worked its way and seen all this great stuff, the accomplishments, talent, and a lot of things that have gone on. For me, so I went to that place, the high school, up there at on the west point of the river, West Point, the military academy, and I went the long route because I had to go to prep school. So I went to prep school 93 to 94, graduated in 1998, an infantry officer. I've been in the service for 23 years. Spent the experience that I've had has been across all different types of organizations. So I spent some time originally, Fort Hood, Texas. Where I was in 2-5 Cav, the 501st in Alaska. I got some time in both 2nd and Ranger Battalion, JSOC, 10th Mountain. Got a chance to work up here at the Corps, and then come over here to 22 Stryker Brigade, where I'm working for 7th ID and General Brunson, Command Sergeant Major Bomber. And I got to tell you, Ken, every time and every organization that I've been in part of, I've been blessed to work with some incredible leaders. Every time I get a chance to share. A guy like my very first battalion commander in the Army was Bob Brown. So General Bob Brown, retired as USPAC commander. He's my first battalion commander in the Army. And so that experience has just, led on to all these incredible leaders that I've had an opportunity leading up now to General Brunson and General George.
Now your organization in itself, I mean, we can go ahead and just discuss the organization. The organization, where does it fall under who's its hire? I mean, who do you report to?
Yeah, it's it's a little bit confusing. It's clear for us if you serve in the military, but I know the guys that have been asking because they've had roots that have gone back to 2ID and 7th ID and now First Corps. So I'll kind of talk big to small. So America's First Corps, commanded by General George, Lieutenant General General George, and Command Sergeant Major Pospisil. They're the First Corps command team, and that command team, encompasses and is the higher headquarters for 25th Infantry Division, the units that are in Alaska, and then here at JBLM. Here at JBLM, 7th ID is my higher headquarters. So my commanding general is Major General Xavier Brunson and Command Sergeant Major Ahmed Bomber.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so it's interesting, right? So, there are higher headquarters, and people will always wonder why we're wearing a 2ID patch, because the 2ID headquarters is in Korea.
Right.
And even though 7th ID was stood up, as a TRA responsibility that now has responsibility of 2 Stryker brigades, 1-2 and 2-2 16th Cav, in DeVarty. And it's interesting, and I appreciate that you asked that question, because it is confusing for some of our soldiers. And one of the things General Brunson always talks about, we may wear different patches, but we're all on the same team. And so here, when you walk in, it is one of those things where, if I kind of imagine if I was a brand new soldier and I'm wearing a 2ID patch, how do I, get this ownership and understand what's going on? I'm trying to explain, or someone's explaining to me, my commanding general's wearing a different patch, and I'm working for somebody else. And how do you kind of get around with that? So what we did here as we kind of came in is, we rallied around, a new symbol that we came up that one of our officers had kind of, laid out. Captain, Jeremy Flores was a graphic arts designer who worked in the Hollywood. And he said, hey, we need something. I know you've seen in that video that we had laid out. We need something that's new and clean. Not that I don't love, the 2ID patch. It's got some great history. Not that I don't love the 7th ID. Just something that we can rally everybody here in 2-2, and then so they understand, what we are, what our climate, what our culture is. And so if you look at that symbol that we have, we are the Lancer Brigade, and that is the top of a lance. So it's pointing toward the high ground. The 2 designates the unit, but really what makes that symbol so important is it really represents the clarity of purpose for us. In order for us to be united and strong, there's 7 chevrons that are underneath that represents the 7 battalion and 1 line, which is the remainder of the brigade. And the only way that we can accomplish any mission that we're given, which I'll get into a second, which we cover, is that we've got to be all synchronized together in order to actually kid seize the high ground. So that symbol represents here for us 2-2. but higher headquarters is 7th ID, and we nest with everything that General Brunson and Sergeant Major Bombers have. And then obviously we're part of America's First Corps. So I know you were asking, Ken, earlier, like, what is our mission set? So, we are a force comm unit. So just like any other brigade in the Army, we go through our training and progression so we can build and prepare for large-scale combat operations where we get tested, at a combat training center. And for us at this time, it's going to the National Training Center. And that's really, your big rep and prep for the crucible of ground combat.
Right.
And so when we rotate and then we get an opportunity, if we're not going on a kind of a training path toward a CTC, we have an opportunity to support operations in the Indo-PACOM AOR. So, we're talking Thailand, Philippines, sometimes it may be Korea, Japan, India, which is pretty neat because, I've heard a lot of senior leaders, they talk about what's the operational and strategic center of gravity. And what I would offer that's been communicated to me several times is our operational center of gravity is our ability to project combat power into the AOR. And really it's anywhere in the world, but for us specifically here, it's demonstrating that we can project combat power into the Indo-PACOM AOR. And then when we go there, obviously we're working in alignment with the priorities of our USARPAC commander, General LaCamera. And then the strategic center of gravity is how do we increase the relationship of our partners and allies that we're working with. And it's a great experience. And so, I know there's some myths out there. Some soldiers think that when they show up that there's not going to be an opportunity. There are plenty of opportunities that you get a chance. You'll get a chance to train and do the things that other organizations like in 3 Corps and 18th Airborne Corps get a chance to do when they train and go to either JRTC, Joint Readiness Training Center, or the National Training Center. And then you'll get a chance to rotate into the Indo-PACOM AOR, or get a chance to partner with a different organization. And it could vary. It could be all the way up to a battalion level task force down to a platoon that's going.
Now, have you trained with? Can you just off the top of your head just name how many other? Do we have any partner nations that you work with in the Indo-PACOM area?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I mentioned before, the Philippines, Thai. We've also done some work with the ROC Army, Japanese, and then at the same time we've got an exercise going on with our sister brigade 1-2 in India.
And how is that in India? I don't think I've ever heard any Army units going to India. I mean, is this something new? Has this been enduring so far with them?
It has. That exercise has been going on for a while. So like anything else, it starts off with what's the scope and capabilities, and it starts like anything else. They go through these planning exercises where they lay out what are the training objectives that we can, and then through these different planning exercises we line up opportunities to get after each of our training objectives, and then really the capabilities that we can bring toward it. So a lot of times there's a component where we get a chance to do some planning together as staffs, and then sometimes the actual units that are working together, that could be something as small as a platoon, or even work up to the size of a battalion, or even several battalions within the AOR.
Now, does it put you guys on a different type of? I know is there some sort of readiness cycle that you guys have to go through? Because again, not knowing anything about 2-2 to begin with, like I said, I really thought it was just like I was telling you before, I thought the 7th ID wasn't even around yet. So how do you guys fit into the rotation cycles? Are you like in a GRF type of environment? Do you guys have that type of setup?
No, so we don't have a GRF type setup, but what we do have is, amongst all the units that are in America's First Corps, so 25th ID, the units that are out there, 425 and 125 that are in Alaska, and here 1-2, 2-2 Striker Brigade, and then the Combat Aviation Brigades that support both in the 25th and here at JBLM and our DeVarty elements. Those are all kind of within the pool of resources for units to support operations to complete these exercises in the AOR. There's not really a rotation, but they do plan out these exercises. And as you look at it, we go off the priorities of the USARPAC commander. They're nested with what we've got currently as our First Corps commander balances the priorities of what Forces Command as well as USARPAC lays out. And then we walk through and we develop a training path based on, do you have one force, and here at JBLM, one brigade that's predominantly focused on building large-scale combat operations capability, and that's kind of gearing up to do a CTC rotation. For those that are familiar, the same thing you do in 18th Airborne Corps, like 10th Mountain or 82nd. And if you've already completed that, then you're on a different path where you're really focused on, okay, what training do I need to exercise, the capability and the partnering with those that are going to be in the AOR. And so you really have that year that you're looking at. And the way we've kind of done it here in 2-2 is, and COVID adjusted our mission set a little bit, but when you have an opportunity to go to potentially 4 different, countries and provide, some type of presence and partnership with them, it's best like anything else. Just like we've seen over in the GWAT, how do you break up those AORs so you can give battalions responsibility so they can own it? So when we were given this mission set early, which our higher headquarters does a great job, they partner or they nest with First Corps and with USERPAC priorities. We all know when we're getting an opportunity to go in that. That's kind of the cycle that we know as you're kind of referencing it. And so by the time it comes down to us, we try to work, and so we look out, at least 2 years, and we're synchronized stuff at 6 months, and then we kind of factor in some things, for the remainder of the year. But then that gives us a chance to look at each battalion and say, okay, hey, this battalion, you're focused on the Philippines. So all our intel guys get a chance to really look hard at the AOR. They provide update briefs, and then any of the small mission unit training or anything that goes on there, any exchanges, that battalion owns that entire portion of that. And so for us, that's something that has helped, give us a little bit of ownership and a little bit better understanding and a good share amongst the brigade on who owns and when they're partnering with something and preparing for a mission in the AOR.
Now you're obviously, you guys are mostly doing CDREs and EDREs. You guys are a striker organization, correct?
That's correct. So striker organization, I tell everybody is, don't fear the machine, fear what comes out the back. That's 108 squads, right? So,
right.
For those that are not familiar with an SBCT, so it consists of 7 battalions. So I have 3, infantry battalions. I've got a cavalry squadron. I've got an engineer battalion. I've got a brigade support battalion, and I've got an artillery battalion that goes through that, as well as good headquarters. So it's roughly about 4,500 soldiers.
Does it? Oh wow! So then everything else obviously just augmented through whatever the mission set is. Then it's not necessarily organic to the organization itself.
Everything within the BCT is pretty. I mean, when we go, we're pretty self-sustaining, and then unless we're going specific into the AOR that we need a capability, so we're plugging into whatever CLOCs, we're plugging into whatever unit can provide capabilities. If there's an additional communications, piece that we need to tie in, but as we go, it's just like anything else. If the easiest way I would kind of reference, we're not on a GRF cycle,
right?
But we build an expeditionary mindset so we can take anything from as large as a brigade and a brigade, C2 element that has, multiple battalions underneath it, all the way down to the size of a platoon, and even small units or individuals to do some exchanges, to go over there and do some partnership and some key exercise and training with our partners in the AOR.
Right. I was ready to say, do you think now, since you've been in and since you've been to the organization, have you been seeing, what was your reaction? I don't want to say reaction, because I know everybody going into a command billet, they're always excited to find their way and to make the organization better than what they left it. But what was your thoughts on the Indo-PACOM AOR to begin with?
I've always tried to make my way over here. So, if we went back to the time that I was in the advanced course, the place I've always been trying to go to since I graduated from West Point was trying to get, posted in Hawaii. And it just didn't end up working out by timing or whatever the case was. And so even when I went to the advanced course, I was trying to post there. Slots ended up going away and going over to other organizations as we were surging in the GWAT. But I ended up making my way over to Alaska. And even when I was in Alaska, I was excited. I got a chance to go over and do some planning for Balikatan. But that also got canceled because we were ended up deploying. So I spent 30 months in Alaska, but the majority of that time was prepping to deploy in the GWAT. I've been over there for a couple planning conferences in different places. I think there's some incredible opportunities. And there's a lot of things that are going on. And as we talk about, as you read in open source, and, there's a lot of discussion about great power competition.
Right.
I think this is an awesome opportunity, you know, as you read things and then you talk about, you know, where else is no one else really looking at. I think there's been a lot of boots on ground and a lot of experience, you know, in the CENTCOM AOR. We've had some new increased experience there, and some of the stuff in Europe now is going. And I think this is another opportunity. And as we start to look at how we're approaching certain things, I think this is a great opportunity to serve in an organization or anywhere within First Corps to get a chance to experience some of these missions.
Now, is the priority right now? Obviously, it's China. Is it giving you guys a little bit more? I would say more of an eye opening to your soldiers to say, hey, look, these are those threats that you should be aware of, that you should study up on. Do you give them at least some sort of, I don't know, unit reading lists or something like that on the AOR?
Yeah, absolutely. So that goes back to what I was talking about before. The moment that we get an opportunity, and we can see about a year or 2 years out, and what units are going to have the opportunity to go out and participate in some of these countries, those units take ownership. And so their intel sections start diving into those locations. Who are the key leaders? Who are key stakeholders? What do their armies look like? What are their capabilities? What are their threats, both internal and external? And so everybody starts to educate. And we're trying to gain some experience and build some expertise before we go over there, and some familiarization. But then for those that are doing the studying, the way they end up sharing that is through our fighting battle rhythm. So when we run our Cubs, you know, every Friday, whatever country, or we have a deep dive on one of these countries. And it's great because you have a PFC or a specialist, you know, who's an analyst who gets a chance to kind of dive through, and there's talking about Senkaku Islands. They get a chance to talk about the South China Sea. You know, they're talking about, you know, the government, you know, in North Korea. And so everybody gets a chance to hear, and it's a great opportunity for, you know, young analysts as they're going through this to get a chance to really see a different problem set that, you know, they're going to get a chance to potentially end up experiencing some partnering exercises with some of the allies and partners in the AOR.
You know, that was a good. You bring up a good point that just hit me. That there was some issue about the Huawei 5G network and cyber threats and attacks and all that. Can you give us just a little bit of what you think about, your impression about that whole 5G network stuff that everyone is, I guess they're afraid of it or don't know how to confront it. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I'm not as familiar, you know, and I look at it as in the same portion of it is, I think that you got to be cognizant on anything that you're dealing with that is going to be a threat. So, you know, what we teach our guys is, hey, you got to know OPSEC, you got to understand, you know, cyber awareness. So anytime that you're operating the AOR, these are the things that, how do you make sure that you're protecting yourself? Because it's not so much, you know, a specific incident, but we have seen, you know, as we talk about the character and nature of war and the character adjusting a little bit, you know, as these soldiers, you know, potentially could end up facing an enemy that I've never seen, and something within cyber or something that's a different type of threat, you know, from some of the adversaries that we potentially are facing today is going to be something different than I experienced when I was growing up.
All right. I mean, we already got comments saying how young you look, sir. So you know, it's just they're like, you look like you're past 30. So that we had commanders of the 4th and the 8th PSYOP group, and I had a picture of Colonel Jeremy Mushter, and they were just like, I got a PM. He's like, do all colonels look that young? What's going on? What type of skincare are you using? But
that's actually interesting. So, you know, I when I share that with my team, right? So that everybody asks me, and the first question I always tell them, yes, I'm over 40, right? The second thing is, you know, I tell them that there's a secret. I'll let you know. You know, they'll also ask me about my hair. So what I share with them is, number one, you know, my wife is a hairstylist. She is Paul Mitchell, you know, trained. So, you know, don't mess with the Zohan. So she makes sure that, you know, we, like I say, we do bad things to bad people while looking good doing it. So, you know, and then the last thing is, you know, I always kind of share, I laugh because I also share with my team that, you know, I've got a stepdaughter who's 33, and I've got 2 grandkids. So I'm also a grandfather.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I love it. And you know, as we kind of talk through some other things, I love to tell stories about them and my experience, because if it relates to anybody else, as we kind of walk through certain things and we talk about trying to change culture and all that.
Oh, right.
I am dealing with probably very similar things that a lot of our soldiers, it doesn't matter that I'm a colonel, that I would tell you that our youngest soldiers are dealing with in their formation.
Oh, I bet. What's their reaction when they show up and they're like, all right, all right, everyone be quiet. Here comes Brigade Commander. Are they expecting to see some old crusty dude?
Well, I've had experiences all across the board, right? So I've had the one where, like no one knew who I was. And so the best story I love telling, I had a battalion commander who just changed out, and I'm getting ready to go to the pre-command course. It's down in Fort Benning, right? So you fly in Atlanta, and there's that one gate that you're walking in, and you can clearly tell it's all military personnel. Most of them are officers, right? Because they're wearing like Jordache jeans, they're running shoes, Levi's braided belt,
or cargo shorts,
polo short, yeah. So when I get on the plane and I'm sitting next to this guy, and I could tell that he's a little irritated because there's open seats. It's only like one or a few rows. And so there's still open seats, but I get a chance to sit next to him. And so I go, oh, hey, how you doing? Are you going down to Benning for a course? He's clearly irritated because I'm not calling him sir, because he clearly thinks that I'm younger than him in rank. And so I go, he goes, yeah, I'm going down to a course. I'm going to pre-command course. I said, oh, okay. I said, where are you going to command? He goes, oh, I'm going to command 8-1 Cav. I said, oh, that's great. I said, I also am going down to Benning for a course. He says, really? I said, yeah, I'm going to command course too. And he's like, you can tell he's still a little irritated because he thinks I'm a captain going to the advanced course, and I still have yet to call him sir. And he goes, well, what are you going to command? I said, I'm going to be your boss. And then so right at that moment, he looked up and he was kind of like, hey, is there another seat I can go to? So. And from that point on, it was a great relationship, and I love sharing that story. But I also, when I went down to the advanced course or down at Benning, I got a chance to sit and talk to younger officers, captains and lieutenants, and it was so funny. I walked in one time and I was just sitting there in my uniform, and I was watching them all share some stories, and they were at the bar, and I just sat there and they saw me. They didn't see my rank, and they were all talking, and they were, yeah. These majors, they don't know what's going on. And then and they looked at me and kind of to get that a green, you know what I'm talking about? And I said, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And he looked up, and then somebody was giving him the look like, dude, that's a colonel. So, but it's funny because sometimes I ask my son, I run across some guys, and I'm like, do I look like that? And my son, of course, is like, oh yeah, you look old.
Yeah. No, that's I saw that before. Someone said, hey, he's only over 30. Most and again, if that's how you look and you got it, I just would love to see some of their faces when you told that guy you're his boss, and what his reaction would have been. That'd have been timeless. You could have sent it to WTF Moments and said, and you're authorized, Colonel, you could send some pics too. If you want to send something to us, we'll post it for you. We're more than happy. We've had senior leaders post stuff before, or had us post something for them just to see what the reaction of their. I know it's kind of cruel, but usually the reaction is pretty funny. So, so somebody,
I've actually made Army WTF a couple of times. I know. I had a soldier. He made a little. They call it a beer shrine or beer robot, one time. And I was like, hey, that's awesome, And I had to let his chain of command know. I said, you kind of give away, the fact that you blanked out your face and you're standing next to it. And I said, when your mom comments on there and talks about how great you are, So, no, but I love it. I mean, it's, I want to believe that soldiers, want their leaders to look, physically fit, that are charismatic, that can communicate. And I feel like, I may have the opportunity to look this way, but there's still an expectation that, the audio's got to match the visual. You got to be able to do physically, you got to be physically fit. You got to be able to work through problems. You got to be able to change and build culture, and you've got to really be able to find a way is how do you develop leaders, and what I want for all soldiers, and it's hard, right? So, as a leader now of nearly 5,000 soldiers, how do you make a connection with somebody that only gets a chance to see you and your picture on the wall?
Right.
And that's where, we kind of go through that. And I could share, later on the origin and the thoughts of why we went to looking at doing the leadership experience in the podcast.
Well, I was about ready to ask you. We were just talking about in him-hawing about the ACFT going through so many changes, and there was an article in Task and Purpose about it. And I'm just thinking that everyone was more worried about having to take the test instead of, like you were talking about, the culture change. If you are in the U.S. Army, or if you are in 2-2, there's an expectation for you to do tasks within the organization that require you to be physically fit. I mean, you just cannot. Absolutely. You just can, and do it safe. You're handling. Absolutely. The one thing I love is how when you guys did that video, that sizzle reel of showing. And I know what you guys are doing. I mean, only because I'm a multimedia guy, and I know what PSYOP you guys are doing. You guys were getting the tasks that were part of the ACFT and correlating it to the tasks of a soldier doing it. So
that's exactly.
So when you saw the soldier carrying the water cans or carrying the kettlebells, you saw him carrying the ammo, or you saw the soldier, hammering the tire. You saw him doing some other task, or you saw the other soldier carrying the kettlebells, and he was carrying it, and then it changed to a Bangalore torpedo. There's a culture. I mean, do you think? Right. I mean, did you ever just kind of like wonder, like, dude, what do you expect to be in the Army and not, is it hard for you as a leader to kind of listen to all this stuff and say, hey, look, you just got to maintain your physical fitness? I mean, it's frustrating, but what's your take on it?
Well, I think physical fitness is, it's incredibly important, obviously, number one. The second portion of it is it's what the way you worked out when you were younger and the way I work out now are really kind of two different purposes. Because, as you've gone through for 20 years, I'm trying to now, I still work out very, very hard, but I'm also doing it to the point of saying, how do I continue to work out the level of intensity, do all the things that are expected of me, but at the same point, I don't want to be broken at the end of this. And so there's things that I am trying to impart on, younger generation and soldiers and younger leaders that I didn't really care about. Like when someone told me to do stretching, I thought that was just taking away from more time to do PT. When somebody was talking about, hey, diet, I just thought about like, hey, you just need to run more miles, or work more
right,
in the,
right.
In the weight room. When someone was talking about sleep, I just thought about it as like, hey, I'll make that up when I'm, old and retired. And what I'm recognizing now, I personally, as I go through this, and I'll share two things. So number one, I do a challenge on Fridays. It's kind of you have to lead this, right? So a leader once shared with me that if you believe something is risky, then a leader should lead it. Risky or dangerous, then a leader should lead it. If the conditions are miserable, then you need to be with your soldiers. And so the only way that you're going to get this thing uplifted, in your organization, it is not a policy change. It is not, waiting for a regulation. Leaders are going to have to do it. And so you're going to have the most senior individuals that are going to have to get out there. And if all you were was a 2-mile run guy, push-ups and sit-ups and call it a day, you're going to have to do some research and figure it out. So every day, if you're not a believer in functional fitness, then I would strongly recommend that you go back to the books and figure out the reason why we're doing this. Because there's something about longevity, and there's this portion about it that there's some education, and the Army's invested in it. That's the reason why we have health and holistic fitness facilities. That's why we created the Lancer Performance Center. That's why we're hiring strength coaches. And you got to do it. So one of the ways that we do it here is myself and the Sergeant Major, for me, I'll grab some random company commanders on a Friday right after the Cub. And I'll say, hey, I want the following company commanders to show up, in the arena. And I just pick one of the ACFT events. I give them a challenge, right? So challenge number one is if you can score 90 points, right, then I'm going to give you a 3-day pass that you can give to a soldier. And if you don't beat me or you don't get 90 points, then they come back to me later on and they help me with some project or whatever the case is. I call upon them in the future for a favor, like give them a John Wick marker, you know? And then the second thing is I said, hey, the second challenge is if you want to challenge to try to beat me, then if you beat me, then I'll take your entire company off Red Cycle for a week. If you don't beat me, then your company will get an additional week of red cycle. And so what it does, right, is it allows these, if I got leaders that are scared to do this, then when I put them in the situation on the crucible of ground combat,
right,
how will they be able to do this? And so I just, and I asked them the challenge, Ken, before we even do it. So they don't know what they're doing. So they don't know if it's leg tucks, ball throw, whatever the case is. And so like the first event we did was, leg tucks. And I just look around and I wait to see, based on their nonverbal expressions, I'll pick the order to go and I'll go last. And you can see, and they'll learn something about themselves. And every time I've done this, I've watched. I can see, right, it's like these company commanders are kind of worried. They got to do it in front of their peers. They're worried about, do they do it enough? Is this like, once all that goes away, they realize they start cheering for each other, encouraging each other. And I'm like, if you guys can figure that out in the first 30 seconds, why are we not doing this every day? So you come to the Lancer Brigade, we bought these great, there's their Beaver Fit gyms in a box.
Yep.
We had them and we got additional ones, and they all got issued to the companies. And I was like, no. You come to the Lancer Brigade, there's a big old field out in the middle. The first portion of it is where we do, a parade. We're going to build our memorial on there. It's awesome. The second half of that field goes all the way down. We call that the arena. That's where all these boxes came to the front. So that's where the gladiators train. That's where you go. So absolutely. If you're going to end up getting after it, it needs to be led by leaders, and you're going to test it. And we're going to test it a lot. And the great thing I love about it is, the Command Sergeant Major Sismazic, my brigade CSM, and all the Command Sergeants Major, we do here, right? So one of the things is, we want a culture of competing. We want a culture of winning. We got a culture of you got to have this mindset growth. And so you got to do hard stuff. And so part of that stuff is, you got to incorporate all these exercises. And so I love it. It started off when we were doing, we do squad competitions every month. So some guys are like, hey, we do squad competitions, they're not like this. I mean, they show up, they don't know what they're going to do. And so every time, every battalion hosts an event or hosts 4 events. So when that squad shows up, they check in just like anything else. It's kind of like CrossFit Games kind of style. They don't really know what the events are.
Right.
They have to plot to the points. They have to move. So it tests really the kind of big things: physical fitness, ability for medical skills, weapons proficiency, and just some basic overall privation and a little bit of competition. And in between, so I show up to an event, right? I show up to a battalion. I'm the squad leader. The guy that's receiving goes, give me 4 guys. And right away, those 4 individuals go right to a section. And right there's an individual that says, here's the physical tasks, and it goes right into some other type of additional, individual skills at the same time. It's awesome. It's been awesome to watch squads compete. It's awesome to watch them improve. And the thing that I love about it, there's 3 mystery events throughout this entire course. And that mystery event is where the squad leader has to do the event in front of his squad. And so this is a way that we have found a way to incorporate functional fitness, the ability to compete, the ability to, build a winning culture. And you got to do it, and you got to lead it as a leader in this organization. What we say here is, the vision in the Lancer Brigade is, we're really a team of teams committed to winning and dedicated to the pursuit of excellence. And I don't expect, soldiers to know and memorize that, but I expect them to know that there are 3 critical things in that: teams, winning, and excellence. And I expect that our leaders, are at the point of friction, our most junior leaders. And I do little checks with them every once in a while, is that we got to make sure we equip them, that they understand, that what am I doing every day that's aligned with building a team of teams, committed to winning, right, ready to compete, and then pursuit of excellence, mindset growth, getting better every day, challenge over comfort.
You guys are a freaking Stryker Brigade Combat Team. Why wouldn't you not do that? that's just me. I mean, we're not talking about a finance battalion. I'm not dissing any other branches, but we're not talking about a finance battalion. We're not talking about a commo unit. You guys incorporate that with all of your organizations as well. Your support units, your medical guys, your ESBs, your support sections. You're all involved. Do you think there's a couple of times is there ever a time where you think, this is too much, I think I'm gonna throttle back a little bit, or do you just like, are the soldiers showing you, holy shit, these guys are knocking it out of the park, I could probably give them some more and they'd probably eat it up?
I think that they've always got to be continued. Like, so as a leader, you got to assess really two things, right? So there's always this challenge of creating this culture. I mean, I read a book recently. It was great, and I recommend it to any leader. It's Urban Meyer's book, Above the Line. It really focuses on this championship season as the time coming into Ohio State. And in the premise of this thing, he really talks about living above the line is a choice. It's an opportunity, right? Every time we face this, and above the line is you're living with intent, purpose. You want to challenge over comfort. Below the line is this, hey, survival. It's this mindset of I just want to get it over with and be done. I think that we have to find ways as a leader to do two things. You got to know yourself, and you got to know kind of the vision, and this is the direction we're moving. And you're always going to have different levels of growth. And then at the same time, you got to assess the entire organization and realize how many stretch objectives they can do. I would tell you what we're doing now, we were not ready to do in my first 3 to 6 months of command. The things that these guys are doing within this organization, it's incredible. I mean, I sit back and I mean, I love it. I love this organization. And I've been in some incredible organizations in the past that I believe have served as some pretty neat models. But I will tell you, if you walked into this organization and you saw that field, if you walked into this headquarters, if you walked into our, which was a non-existent conference room, it was my S1 shop, that looked like had a bunch of cubicles. I called it Meerkat Manor. That was the largest place in the organization. And
I know
you
what
just
you mean.
have soldiers, right? They come together and they build out this table. It's like Game of Thrones style.
Yep.
I mean, you guys had my serving table on Army WTF,
Yes, we did.
And it's a place, we call it the foothold because like in anything else, right? When there's an objective, key guys have got to, mass combat power. This is where we come up with ideas, we problem solve. And it recognizes where you can build camaraderie. It's where we build these team of teams, right arm calls, where we end up having staff calls, promotions, and all these kind of things. And then there's a tribute to a lot of stuff that's important. So re-enlistments, promotions, key ceremonies. And then, once I said, right, if it's risky, you got to lead it, and so when we started with this here, Ken, I would tell you, I've seen this move throughout the battalions. I could go to a battalion area, you see how they've painted it. You could see how they've built stages. They've shared that, and that's moved down to the barracks. I mean, some of these things these guys have done, it's pretty awesome. And I just kind of saw just all this great work that was happening. I mean, even in our Warrior restaurant, the Bistro, if you walked in there and saw the murals that these guys had painted, unbelievable. I mean, I'll have my PAO team share this stuff with you. And I know that they were working through some things, but it's incredible. And I love to see the look on people's face when they come in. And I'm so proud. We talk about these things. It's interesting. I was listening to this podcast, and there's this guy, Tim Kite, who actually is the guy that helped, write a lot of stuff with Urban Meyer. And I would tell you right now that, when he talks about, you got to find a way. And I've also heard a leader talk about, you got to find a way to love your soldiers. And, when you hear that, people are like, oh, that's like this, warm and fuzzy thing or whatever. and he says, it really comes down to, if you study the word, it's not like the love, like Eros love, right? Like love of self, or I really love this thing. Like I love beer and pizza kind of thing.
Right.
Or it's this filial love. Like, hey, I love hanging out with this guy because he's a Dallas Cowboys fan. Because when those things, dissipate,
whoa, hang on. You're drawing a line on the Dallas Cowboys stuff, okay?
Oh,
I mean,
come on,
I'm just
Ken,
kidding.
Work with me. This is going so well, and now we're going off the rails, man.
Go for it. I'm sorry.
No, that's what I tell guys, Ken, why do you hate America? You know what I mean?
You know what? That's but I mean, that's how it's going into what we're going into talk about right now, the leadership experience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so that right there, what you're telling me, I mean, I didn't mean to derail that, but your what you're saying right now has been translated to this new podcast. Let's talk about the leadership experience. I mean, what's the idea with that?
Absolutely. Let me finish this last portion of that, right? So
go for it.
What this guy Tim Kite was talking about is this last kind of category of love. They call it agape. And that's like others oriented. It's like this uncommon commitment, this selflessness. And so, some people, I call it hard hugging, like the best thing you can do, this hard hugging and this love. I always say it's like you're going to get the love that you don't necessarily want, but the love you need.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Right. And it's this discipline. And what ends up happening is that warm and fuzzy feeling, and he described it as if someone broke into your house, right? A burglar broke into your house, you would do whatever you could to defend them, because that's this agape. This is that love. That's the same thing that we talk about when you're in the trenches, when you go overseas, when you cross that line of departure. You're doing it for those that are on the left and right of you. And so that same thing, if we got to demonstrate that every day, if you want to be an elite organization, that you want to have this uncommon commitment. And then that warm and fuzzy that you're going to feel is when you end up seeing, when I'm talking about it, I'm walking off the stage and someone else is going to come in and do things and take this brigade further than me. And I'm looking back and I'm seeing all this great stuff. I'm seeing guys that are, winning competitions and getting promoted, and you start feeling it and you have those chills. That's the warm and fuzzy.
Right.
That's the love thing that guys are talking about. So yeah, let me transition to the leadership experience, right? So if you ever told me that I would be doing a podcast as a brigade commander, I would have told you were smoking something, right? So I'm not a social media guy, but at the same time, I feel it's very important. You got a message, and if you want to be a leader, you've got to be a great communicator, and you've always got to strive to be a great communicator. You may have the talent, but you got to constantly build this skill. And so I share with guys like, hey, you got to be out and be able to give the speech. You got to be able to provide a conversational tone. You got to be able to do one-on-one counseling. So the way I would try to convey things is through a state of the brigade. And so I would give myself probably about a C on it, right? So, you bring everybody, in the theater, you share some stuff, where we're going and all this. It's good information, but just like you and I both know, once you're sitting in there longer than 10, 15 minutes, it's hard. It's hard to listen, and everybody gets something different out of it.
Unless it's a comedy act or something provocative, you're not going to grasp that audience.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so it was good to be authentic. It was a great opportunity to be open and transparent and be vulnerable. But there was something that was still missing. For some, town halls work, right? And so they want to be the guy. They have a script. They try to take questions. I still felt that there was a way that we were kind of missing stuff, and it goes back to the same thing, right? It's not necessarily about me. It's how are we trying to continue to push down these messages and what the kind of and the type of culture that we want to create. We want everybody that's in this organization to say, hey, who's responsible for creating culture? And the elite organizations want everybody to say, I am. I am responsible for creating this culture of accountability, discipline, winning, teams, all that. So as we sit down, right, and this is how it works. I'm sitting down there and I go, well, now this COVID thing's happening, so the state of the brigade's canceled. Huh. Well, and deep down inside, like one part of me is like, well, that's a good thing, right? So then I'm sitting around and we're like, well, how do we send this thing out? Well, I can send out an email. Well, we have this thing on Teams, which is then kind of the same thing,
right?
So I'm like, I'm going home, right, and I'm looking at my family, and everybody's on like watching reality TV or on social media, and my son comes up to me. He's fascinated with podcasts, and he comes up to me and he's like, hey, Dad. Joe Rogan had this guy on the other day, and they were talking about, this, this, and this. And I was like, hey, dude, welcome to 3 years ago. I told you that. And he's like, and he's like, yeah, I know, but this, that, whatever. And so it's like, okay, I'm like, what's your fascination, man, with podcasts? And I told this story the other day, right? Because it was like, my wife was like, hey, you need to go in the bathroom and see what your son's doing because he's in the shower like way too long. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. That's not my job. I know he's mine, but I don't want to do that. I mean, whatever he's doing in there, right? Whatever he's washing is either clean or never going to be clean. And so,
right.
I go in there and I hear this like, this conversation going on. I'm like, what is he watching? What is he listening? I mean, this is the weirdest. And I'm like, dude, are you like watching a podcast in there or listening to a podcast? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, first of all, the water bill is going to be like, $300. So we're going to have to discuss this. But I'm like, what's the reason why you're like so fascinated with these podcasts? And no kidding, Ken, he was like this. He goes, "Hey, Dad, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me when I was younger and used to bring me around all your soldiers, and the guys you work with, and they would just tell stories.
Right.
They would just tell stories about, combat training, and the worst part about it is they'd all act like it was the first time they heard the story, even though they all knew it.
Right. Right.
And so he's like, so I'm fascinated just listening to this conversation. And I was like, what? He goes, and then he's like, and this is my 16-year-old kid. He's like, Dad, he's like, my generation doesn't want to be talked at. They just want to be part of the conversation.
Correct.
And I was like, I don't even know what that means, man. And so he's like, let me lay this out for you. He goes, all the guys that have served with you and been overseas and been in organizations with you, you say, hey, let's go over to this place and go get a beer. They're all going to rally together. You're going to share. You have common experiences and all this other stuff. He's like, imagine us going to a bar and some dude is like knife handing you going, hey, Chung, check it out. Here's what you need to do to fix yourself. Let me give you 3 points, blah, 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 this, that, whatever. Everybody's going to be like, dude, this dude needs to chill out, man. You know what I mean? Like, finish your beer. You're embarrassing yourself and all that. He goes, our guys, like my guys, my generation just wants to be part of the conversation. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe we should do a podcast because obviously my own son's not listening to me. Maybe we find some guests that are going to be more exciting, and they may not even like remember them, but maybe they could actually remember something that they did. And I will tell you, Ken, like we started on this journey, and the guests that we've had, every one of them, right? So we started with like, hey, let's get guys who are masters of our craft, great war fighters like Admiral McCraven, Colonel Bill Oslin, students of profession, guys like Ryan Holiday, obstacle is the way, right? And so all these guys, there's no trademark on leadership. Correct. And they all see things a little bit different, but are offering paradigms, models, concepts about how to approach certain problems. And it's unbelievable. They all offer little gems. And so you continue to go on this, and the stories about resiliency, grit, professional athletes and how they're preparing. It's a way for us, one, incredibly rewarding, but at the same time, they get a chance to listen. If you notice, like I never introduce myself on any of those things because it's not about me. It's really about, hey, I've never had or heard my boss have a conversation with anybody. And I didn't want to be the guy that says, okay, hey, PAO, let's do this. Let's run a podcast or task this, I'm like, if I'm asking somebody once again, right, if it's risky or dangerous, then you got to lead it. So I said, okay, you know what? I'll do it. And I've never done a podcast, never, ran through this. So I said, I'll be the guy that does it and tries to hold the conversation. And I think we've had some great guests. I think they've offered some great lessons and had some incredible gems that you can absolutely apply in a lot of things that we're doing.
That whole thing is that there's a lot of leaders that are really starting to now, and we support it. I fully support any leader wanting to do a podcast. That to me is important. Reason why is because you are now going into the same space as where your soldiers are going at. And,
that's exactly right.
And not only that, just like we do, we're interacting like we're having sound difficulties. The audience was helping me get the sound down, and it was my own little checks that I was doing my own little pre-flight checklist to make sure my sound was okay. But I couldn't have done it without the audience. They were the ones that were helping me out. So that feedback that you get, the individuals that you've had on, you've had like legit. You don't have. You have some good guests. You had, like you said, you had. Leroy Petrie, the Medal of Honor recipient. You had Admiral McCraven. You had, Colonel retired William Oslin. You had, some gut health guru. That I like that one. That was a good one. Yeah, that a week ago. but you had thoughtful and deep discussions that I think more leaders within our service need to do. I know it's kind of cheesy. Everyone likes to say, well, you're not going to be a podcast general. No, the thing is that the soldiers will be more approachable to you, seeing you every day. It's almost like you're another item in your tool bag. You know what I mean, for leadership. That's just me.
I think so. They will always see a different version of you. There's those that are going to have this direct interaction every day, and then they're going to hear how you are in meetings or whatever the case is. And I want everybody to have, an opportunity to hear me have a conversation with somebody and share. And I think it's important that you do. These individuals are much more exciting, have been much more accomplished and have some, incredible stories to share. And if they can glean one thing, so if somebody's having a difficult time kind of going through something and they offer a piece of advice, if they offer a way, if they talk about, a method and to overcome some type of challenge, that is exactly like you said. My biggest thing, and right now, like what we're doing here in the brigade, and this is used as part of this program, we're working this new initiative. It's called the Lancer Agoge. And one of the things I'm always I'm struggling with and I'm challenged with, and me and my sergeant major are always going, is like, how do we make sure that we can get, those that are at the point of friction to win, when we're like win at the point of contact. And those are our most junior leaders. And so I kind of use this example, right? It's, you got a specialist Chung, 15 minutes later, he becomes Sergeant Chung. What's changed? The guy may be talented, he had a certain skill set, but what changed in that 15 minutes? And if we just put that individual out in the open, and he may not be married, but he's dealing with potentially a DV situation. He's trying to help an individual through suicide. He's dealing with the DUI. Where does he have the skill set? Where does he have the experience? Who's helping him to do that?
Right.
And so where are we helping equip these individuals? This is just example, like you said, another tool that they can reference.
Now, most of it as well is also lighthearted. It's not a. Yeah. I mean, you've had individuals. I think you coming on to the WTF Nation, there were a lot of, like I said before when we talked before we went on air, there's a lot of commanders that usually are talking to other commanders like, I heard you're going on WTF Nation Radio. Why you want to do that, man? Colonels don't just like come on to this type of venue, but. What was your reaction when or what was your thoughts coming on to talk to us? I mean, you can be honest.
Well, it's a comment that you made earlier, Ken. A lot of our soldiers are living, in our virtual world, and it's like it's the same thing. You asked the comment there about, and we had talked really about a change in the character, of war a little bit when you gave that example, and I tell you. You got to evolve as a leader. The beauty about being in the profession of arms, what I say, or kind of being a steward, is we have this awesome responsibility, right, for repetitive professional judgment, and that's to manage two things, violence and risk. And the beauty about being in this institution is it can span 3 and sometimes 4 generations. But how do you stay connected? And in order to make that connection, you got to spend time. And you got to also be open and vulnerable. And a lot of times, as you become older and you become more experienced, what I would offer is leadership is really about this journey, and it's many people that I can pick up and build relationships along the way. And it's how do I give back? And so, I'm not writing a book, and if there's a way and there's an opportunity that I could sit down and share some things that are going on, and they can say, okay, hey, I didn't know that my boss was doing this. That might help. When you asked about coming on to here, it really goes back to where are your soldiers listening to? Where are your soldiers at? And I think you got to embrace it. I see the things on Army WTF and I laugh, right? And, sometimes when you see some of those things, it's an indication that you got to do some self-reflection, because a lot of times, that's our soldiers are misinformed. They lack the purpose. They're highlighting some stuff that we go through. But a lot of times, you can't take yourself too seriously, on a lot of those portions of it. And I had guys ask me that said, hey, I don't know if I'd ever do that. And I said, hey, I know I got soldiers that are out there, and I know my soldiers are at this location. If I'm asking them to say, hey, here's a tool called the leadership experience, but they're going to something else and you're running a great platform, then I'm willing to meet them where they're at and discuss whatever you want.
And General Brunson, he was cool with it? Did your PAO was like,
It's funny, right? General Brunson's awesome because it's one of those things, and General Brunson is a boss that gives me left and right limits that are so wide.
Oh my gosh, it seems like he does.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he's incredibly, empowering, and he supports, and everything that he asks me to do, we try to do it, with the same thing he's asking, the energetic, effective, and being engaged in all the pieces that we're doing with anything that he's asking, and make sure that we're nested. But it's funny because as I go through this, you set this up, and I know you guys had invited us, and Danny Matthews came to me and said, "Hey sir, what do you think about doing this with Army WTF Nation?" And I was like, "Are you mad at me, man? Like, what did I do to you? Like, you trying to end my career right now? Like, what's happening, right?" And so as we're walking through this, I was laughing, and he goes, "No, sir." And it's the same thing you were saying, Ken. It's like, hey, it's a great platform. They're affiliated, but this is what they do. It's a great opportunity to showcase unit. And he is, right? So for me, it's an opportunity to listen, and to listen to, a junior officer who's saying, "Hey, sir, you've empowered and trusted me to say this is an opportunity." And right, I referenced Urban Meyer's book. It's an opportunity to live above or below the line. And I'm not one of those guys. If there's something that's factually not correct that Army WTF places out, then I also have this same captain and PAO team that comes to me and says, "Hey, sir, this came up, and this is one of our soldiers are saying this." And I said, "Okay." And so what do? Is you own it. You can acknowledge, and if you need to apologize because there's miscommunication or information, and then say, "Hey, here's the clarifying portion of it." And I think that these guys have demonstrated, we are absolutely not perfect, but we're going to strive, right, for perfection every day. And one of the things that I kind of laughed about, and you go back to this point. So as we're prepping for this, I'm like, "Hey, I'm good. I'm all in." And Danny Matthews was like, "Well, sir, did you ask General Brunson if it was okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I probably should do that, right? Not surprise him." And so that violates one of my own rules, right? Like, never surprise the boss.
Right.
And so he did the right thing, right? He coordinated with Division PAO. Even my lawyer who has to constantly chase after me, he's like, "Hey, sir, this is all great, good to go," and all this. And then so I reached out to General Brunson and I said, "Hey, sir, here's a great opportunity, laid out the portion of it. I think this is something we can showcase, and really highlight some of the things that are going on for our soldiers, and the great things that you're doing here in 7th ID and within the JBLM and here in 2-2. And he was like, "Sounds great." And so I know my boss is driving on leave somewhere, or taking the train to Montana, like Snowpiercer or something. So you might be listening to this live, and I might be getting some counseling, at the end of this.
Well, I mean,
I don't remember approving you to come on to this.
Well, I mean, we kind of propped it up too on Twitter for him. But a lot of it, you talk about that, about the deconfliction with the PAO. I think a lot of it, we've been interacting more with your PAO a lot anyways, because I don't know, we just hey, a lot of the stuff that's been posted, that's why everyone talks about WTF getting dull lately, is because we've been doing a lot more deconfliction with the organizations. So if there's anything that's being posted that could be something that's an issue, a command, we usually just notify the command and they'll like correct it or whatever. So forgive our content being so dry lately, but that's usually what it is. No, hey, Colonel Chung, we totally appreciate you coming on.
This has been great.
Thank you. This by far, it's always great to have more of the, I wouldn't say junior command, but we've had a lot of GOs, but more of the subordinate command organizations. It's always great to have, we had Colonel Jason Williams, we had a couple other colonels, but we had the 2 PSYOP group commanders. It's always great to hear them, because I was just telling the guys in the chat while you were talking, is that I want to join your organization. You made me want to go to JBLM and hang out, because you're just so pumped about it. So, sir, we totally appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely, it's been an honor. I appreciate you guys extending the invitation. Any opportunity, and to meet where our soldiers are at, and to share the great things that they're doing. I mean, this is a special place. It's a special division. It's a special installation. And I love it. They say it's, love the one you're with, but I would tell you, it goes back to that same thing. There is something unique here, and to watch it on this unique piece of terrain that a lot of people get, and I know it's an incredible privilege, but just to watch it kind of continue to go, and it's gonna. There's so much talent in a lot of the things that they're doing. It's a great group of leaders that are doing the things to change some culture, and it goes back to the same portion of it, right? Every day they're doing what they need to through their actions and behaviors to align what we're getting after, being a team, winning, and excellence. So I really appreciate it, and we're fans of what you guys are doing, and we also appreciate helping us see ourselves if we need to. And so if you need anything from there in the Lancer Brigade, let us know.
For sure. All right, guys, gals, we're going to go ahead and take a real quick break so that way me and Colonel Chung could laugh and he can laugh at my audio technical stuff. But we'll be right back, and then everyone go ahead and take a break and go get some, go to hit the latrine, refill your glasses. We'll be right back. Stand by.
It's my
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
And we're back. Man, that last half of Sergeant's time. Well, thank you guys and gals so much for hanging out and putting up with all my tech issues and stuff like that. Once again, shout out to the Lancer Brigade 2-2 2nd Striker Brigade Combat Team 2ID, and totally appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you guys again, PAO. You guys are rocking it. So with that. I guess Shipwreck had to take off. He had to do some other stuff and admin shit. So I was like, hey, you know what? Just go ahead and take off, and we'll do housekeeping. So tonight, we had our guests, from JBLM, 7th ID. God, I'm really messing it up today. Colonel Jonathan Chung, Commander of the 2nd Striker Brigade Combat Team, 2nd ID. Lancer Brigade Combat Team is prepared to go to war and win. And, of course, he came on to talk about his podcast and shoot the breeze a little bit about what the unit does and the podcast leadership experience. Tomorrow, we're going to have Ryan Paul Wilson. He's an Air Force veteran and will be on the show to discuss about his nonprofit organization, Hanoi's Lost Child Foundation, and the fundraising event to help fellow veterans participate in Helicopter for Heroes near Dallas, Texas. But wait, next week's Sergeant's Time is going to be, that's going to be the big one. That's going to be Command Sergeant Major John Foley from USAREC coming on here next Thursday for Sergeant's Time. So if you have any questions, if you're a recruiter, 79 series, what are they? Whatever recruiters they decide. What's the Dassers? Is that what they're calling them? You definitely need to send us your questions. Contact at WTFNationRadio.com or hit us up on the Facebook page at WTF Nation Radio, or go on to WTF Nation Radio's Twitter account because we're broadcasting there. Drop a question in there, and more than likely we will get that answered on air from Command Sergeant Major Foley. He's going to be coming on here and discuss the force recruiting mission and how everyone can help out. Again, we got this is Sergeant's Time. Tomorrow we have Friday Night Freedom with Akaz and Pookie. The weekend's off. I think it's a 4-day weekend for everybody anyways. So Monday edition with myself and Flash. And then Tuesday, Pop Culture Warrior. Oh, wait. Have you guys seen Pop Culture Warrior's page? You guys see all the stuff that he has on there? He's got exclusive, world exclusive scoop from the new Walking Dead series. He has set photos. So go check out Pop Culture Warrior's page on Facebook, and you'll be able to see all the new exclusive. I don't know where he's getting his deets from, but he got the scoop, and he's going to be posting Walking Dead World Beyond. Pay attention to it. I guarantee it. You don't want to miss it. He's more than likely, who knows, might have a guest from the cast of The Walking Dead. At any rate, thank you guys so much for hanging out. And again, thank you again for Colonel Chung for hanging out with us and the 2nd Striker Brigade Combat Team. 2ID for letting them come on here and shoot the breeze. It was a great talk. So with that, you all have a good night and shots.
Hey, this is SEAC retired John Wayne Troxel. You're listening to WTF Nation Radio, the station of choice for all of the badass MFers on the planet.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Intergalactic horse, and we'll ride into the sun, yes, into the sun, where we'll take the day by planting a flag right there at its source. Space Force. They say that they've discovered life up there on Mars, so let's blow it all to hell and then claim it for ours. We'll paint the moon red, white, and blue for no other reason than we wanted to. Oh, Jupiter, imagine what you could become. A stupid, pointless planet turned into a giant gun. And Russia, so sorry, have to burst your bubble. Be a good sport now, sit back, relax, and watch us through the bubble as we celebrate the greatness of the United Planet of America. Space Force, Space Force. We'll saddle up our intergalactic horse and we'll ride into into the sun, yes, into the sun, where we'll take the day by planting a flag right there at its source. Space Force. Now we'll go to infinity and beyond, beyond. You'll hear our manly voices singing Space Force strong. The critics say sound doesn't travel in space, to which we reply sound will do as we say. Oh, Captain Kirk, your achievements, though notable and fine, as far as we're concerned, this is Deep Space Mine. And big fans, but Lord Vader, step away from the lightsaber. There can only be one, of course. Space Force. Ra-da-da-da-da-da, ra-da-da, ra-da-da, ra-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum-dum-dum-dum, ra-da-da-da-da-da, ra-da-da, ra-da-da, ra-da-da-da-da-da-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum. Space Force, Space Force. We'll saddle up our intergalactic horse and we'll ride into the sun, yes, into the sun, where we'll take the day by planting a flag right there at its source. Space Force. Space Force.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.